Hello, my name is Brad Bodnerchuk, and welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, where we discuss everything hospitality, from the food on the plate to the teams that make it happen and the community that drives this industry forward. On this podcast, we sit down and chat with some of the most exciting, inspiring, and innovative minds that make up one of the most dynamic industries that there is today. And today, I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than Avelino Santos. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Great. Yeah, great day out there.
It's a beautiful day in Vancouver. Avelino just showed up, and we are recording in, I guess, the main floor of our condo building. It's a bit of a hot one today. We're going through a bit of a heat wave here in Vancouver. Avelino is traveling around the city today. We'll get into why he's doing that, but he's dressed for success, not necessarily dressed for the heat. Let's just talk about that right off the bat. Kind of off topic and not really why we're here, but how do you deal with this heat? I know obviously you're not born and raised in Canada. This isn't your mother country. So is heat something that you are able to adapt to, or how do you deal with when we're dealing with temperatures up in the 30s like we are right now?
Yeah. I love heat.
Yeah?
Yes. For me, I'm comfortable on a day like today. Yes. I'm all usually, I don't have AC on. If a little, I also have a bit of a sensitivity in terms of air conditionings, and if something, if I feel a breeze of air conditioning, I can feel it. So I love heat. Yeah.
Nice.
I enjoy it. It can be like this every day. There's no problem.
So you would be the first guest that I've had on this show from where you're from, and those of you that are just learning about Avelino, obviously your name isn't one that Avelino Santos isn't one that we would hear a lot necessarily in this country or in this province. So give myself and the listeners a bit of a background before we dive into, again, why I feel like you're here, but give us your history, where you come from, how you ended up here, and why you're doing what you're doing today.
Yes, so born and raised in Portugal, lived there until about 20 years old. Left before leaving at 20. Basically, I did my college. Went to the army, and after exiting the army, I thought, instead of just try something different, and decided to apply just very randomly to a cruise line. And within the application day until I was on board was about 2 weeks time.
Wow! Very
quick. It all happened very fast. And ended up being 5 years working for a cruise line. And after that, I met someone at a cruise line. Very, very, typical story. Happens a lot. And end up moving here because of her. And I also had family in Canada, so I thought it would be a fairly easier transition. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not? Just Portugal. After working for a cruise line for 5 years. Moving to Portugal, there was hard times in Portugal, economic-wise and all that. So, why not just try Canada for a bit and just see how it goes. And I've been here 13 years since.
Remind me again, I know the first time you and I met, you told me about the cruise line. What were you actually doing on the cruise line, if you don't mind me asking? What was your job?
So I started as an assistant server.
Okay.
And moved all the way up to assistant maitre d'.
Oh, wow.
Within 5 years. And I've been in hospitality 24 years. That's all I've done. That's all I want to do. So it's very anything hospitality.
What is it about the industry that intrigues you or fuels you or draws you to it? Why the hospitality industry?
People. Yeah. I really enjoy connecting to people and learning some of their stories. And I'm the kind of person like I'll talk to the bus driver and I'll talk to anyone really. So it doesn't. I enjoy listening to people's stories and. It's really, it's all about people. No matter what business you are, and I think customer service is it's very important. And I've always put a lot of emphasis in customer service and the delivering of the details and all that. So that's I've learned a lot of that in Vancouver as well. Actually, much more than I used to pay attention to. In Vancouver, really? I've learned a lot.
Why do you think that is?
Basically, moving here, I've always I kind of wanted to work with the best in Vancouver here when I moved in 2006. So I applied to, actually before I moved here, I was here on vacation, and I went and talked to someone at Bishop's.
Oh, okay.
And kids, and I thought, I would love to work here, but I didn't have my paperwork. So after I landed here permanently, then I got a job there as soon as I could.
One of the city's like most historical and finest establishments that there is, and still going today, which is amazing.
That's right, and learn lots from John and from Abel, Metro D, and everybody else.
So let's just dive right in then, segue into kind of what you're doing now and kind of the motivation for you to be here. Obviously talk about the hospitality industry, but more specifically what you're doing right now, which I think is so exciting and really representing where you come from and educating people on what the terroir there from Portugal provides. So fill me and the listeners in on what we're looking at here today on the table, but also why you're doing this, why have you taken this leap and made this the hill that you're going to die on?
Mm-hmm. So I've always been involved with wine, from the hospitality part of it, and also from family members having vineyards and wineries back home, harvesting. I've always been involved, and moving here and once again working at some good establishments. I've had the chance to be exposed to a lot of good, great wine and diversity, and just it was a great learning experience so far in Vancouver. And just last year, decided to take on a new project, and I've been working for the last 10 years for same institution. So I thought, being also here for 13 years and buying Portuguese wine and feeling like there's definitely room for different wines, different varietals. There's going every year. I go every year back to Portugal on vacation, and I see every year the growth, and I see what people are doing. And I think some of these wines, they need to be exposed in Canada.
And what is that process like? I know that because I did 5.5 years in the alcohol industry on the beer side of things, and working for a domestic brewer. And I know that in itself can have its challenges in regards to just getting things listed or approved or into stores. So with the challenges that you're seeing, what are they when you're bringing in something that may be super unique from Portugal? Are you attacking the big brands like the government, or are you looking at making this more of a smaller play with the smaller private stores and restaurants? Like, where does this fit? And what is your vision for these brands and your company as a whole moving forward?
So our vision from the beginning was working with small producers, producers that care about the terroir, produce their own grapes. Don't buy, and none of our producers buy grapes from anywhere, nationally or internationally. So we wanted to showcase wines that are very true to the terroir, to Portugal, to each different region, but also with a bit of an approach to the new world palate. So also still giving the consumer in British Columbia a bit more approachability, other than just a lot of people have the perception that Portuguese wines are usually overly powerful and especially from the Douro, overly tannic-y, and that's sort of something that used to happen and still happens a lot, but there's definitely young producers now doing something different. And we thought there was definitely a gap to introduce this, and in terms of logistics-wise, it's been challenging for sure. How it works here in terms of how liquor laws, and I think we thought there's two ways: you either go with it or go against it.
Right.
So in terms of dealing with the regulations, so we just we make the best of it. We did something very unique that I don't know if someone's done this before. We've brought in 40 new labels in one shot from Portugal.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that when we first met up. Yeah, 40. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so 14 producers, 40 labels. And you were mentioning in terms of attacking who we're going to, the direction, right? The direction is different for every label.
Okay.
depending on the image of the bottle and the shape of the bottle, the flavor profile, every small restaurant, a larger chain, or everyone reads a particular label very differently.
Okay.
So we sort of selected a range of different labels and different ways of. So basically, also you have to say getting into the BC Liquor Board, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
No matter really, no matter, but it's, even though you wanna get there, obviously, I mean, we know there's definitely a lot of volume there and all that.
Yeah.
But they also kind of want to see you
prove yourself a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it makes total sense as well. I mean, having to grind a bit of the restaurant side and the retail side.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've done a lot of work. I mean, we've only started tasting in February this year, mid-February.
Wow.
So we have a lot of different labels now, a lot of different restaurants, high end, mid end, so type of thing, and a couple of retail. So it's been great considering the amount of time that we've been doing this.
Yeah, just a short amount of time. And for those listeners that aren't local here in BC or in Canada, the way it works in Canada, and it's different province to province. So when we're talking about the government and we're talking about restaurants and other stores, how it works here, and feel free to jump in here, Avelino, but how it works here is there's the government, which controls what you can bring in and what you can't, and then also the government stores. So the government stores will either say yes to your product or no to your product. If they say no, then if Avelino's cousin owns a liquor store and it's a private liquor store, privately owned, he or she can bring in whatever they want as long as it is approved by the government, correct?
Correct, yes.
And then also the restaurants kind of act like, and feel free to interject here as well, but the restaurants kind of act like private companies as well in regards to they can bring in whatever they want as long as it's approved by the government, correct?
They can bring in as in from...
So if I wanted to, say for example, this bottle of wine right here, I'm guessing it's not a listed product with the government.
No.
But I'm a restaurant, I can buy it,
Yes.
just like a private liquor store,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting and it's challenging in this province and in this country. And I'd love to hear what it's like in Portugal right now. I'm sure it's a lot different as far as how it works, from going from like the vineyard to the table at home. But here there's just so many steps, there's so many different variations of how and when and where you can get your liquor. So I'm intrigued to learn more about what you've learned in the process of dealing with things like the bureaucracy in this province. But again, for the listeners, it's so different province to province in this country, which is a little bit strange. In Portugal, is it one way for the whole country?
Yeah. In Portugal, basically, you can, you are a restaurant, you can just go directly to the winery and you just buy it.
Right.
I mean, a lot of wineries choose not to because all the logistics behind it. So they have distributors.
Right, that makes sense.
Just typical.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know a few wineries that supply directly to restaurants. They need to have a bigger infrastructure and some people in place to help with the logistics. But definitely. Distributors is big players in Portugal.
You mentioned you didn't mention any names, but you kind of mentioned the higher end or mid-range restaurants that you've found yourself in with the wines that you've brought in, the 40 labels. Who is your ideal customer with these brands? Like, what is your ideal restaurant? What is the ideal liquor store? What are they generally carrying? Who is their clients? Who are their customers? Do you have that in top of mind, or does it vary depending on, like you said, the bottle and the label and the liquid?
Yes, it varies. Going to a private store, let's say more towards, let's say, Mission or a bit more outskirts. Mm-hmm. It will change. It will be different labels versus marquee on the
right.
or a couple. And also restaurant wise, I mean, it all really depends. And when we approach a retailer or a restaurant, I mean, we have a sort of a vision. Obviously, we're not always right, and there's
right.
definitely variations. The variations are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I've came across, high-end restaurants that they're not looking for a particular price point, or we thought, oh, okay, well, so nothing like, average check or whoever they're doing doesn't really necessarily. So it's not, but we kind of have an idea roughly what selection that we're going to bring in sort of for a tasting. I mean, we bring an average of minimum like 12 bottles.
Oh wow! For one tasting.
For one tasting.
Wow.
So it's actually very, it gives the buyer, gives the store, the restaurant the possibility of really trying something different. And like I said, we've surprised many times of places that we thought this particular price point would work, and they're like, no, we sell high end. I'm like, wow, that's great.
That's good.
And also the grape varietals. For example, today here we have 2 wines here that are the exact same grape, but one is with no oak influence, and this one has oak.
Okay. So
it's a shot in the dark because everyone has a different perception of each label. So it's just pretty amazing to go through the tasting and open all wines, and then people will be like, oh, I love this, oh, this, and so it's amazing.
When you say something like label, you don't actually mean the physical sticker. You just mean like the brand, or are you talking about the physical sticker as well? Because the reason I ask is I find I have been a drinker now for 3+ years, but when I was near the end of my drinking, I very much noticed how much the wine industry was really marketing more so than anything else. It wasn't so much the liquid in the bottle. It was all about marketing. Mm-hmm. So when you say something like label, I just think of that play where the wineries and their marketing agencies are looking at, you know what, let's just put whatever liquid in there. Let's just make the sticker, the label look really cool and call it something cool. So how much of that plays a part, the actual label of what you're selling? Yeah. How much does that play a part in the success or the lack of success for your brands? Yeah.
For example, I have just an example of one of the top selling rosés in the province. Does not have the grape varietals on the label.
Right.
But when I taste a Portuguese rosé with someone, they're gonna be like, "Oh, what's the varietals?" And if I don't tell them, or if it's not there, or first if I'll tell everybody I know them, but if I would happen not to say, people will be like, "It's from Portugal. You don't know the varietals are not here." Right off the bat is like
a no
people
go.
Just like
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing that they sell millions of bottles and there's nothing written on the label. It just says it's from the particular country and it's like, wow. So it's just Portugal has always been a bit of an underdog in a way, kind of in terms of what the selection has been available and the perception, and the grape varietals are hard to pronounce. But I mean the consumer, I think there's definitely room for the consumer to not be afraid of tasting, of trying new wines. And I think there's definitely, not just being Portuguese, but I mean, everyone that I talk to, they say there's amazing value on Portuguese wines. But people have a bit of that, hesitation of paying, like people, there's like one of those labels that sell a lot. I mean, the thing is, people once you get into that particular name, you just still continue thinking that is cheaper or is more affordable, but it's not anymore. And you can actually pay sometimes like $5-10 more, 5, 7 to 10 for a bottle of Portuguese wines, and the flavor profile and the value is just so much bigger, much different, right? So that it's just in terms of the label that you were saying. I mean, the label, I meant like just the actual look of it. So this one here, Fita Preta, is a blend of 3 varietals, native varietals. Trincadeira, Alicante, Becheia, Aragonês. Obviously, I mean, very hard to pronounce.
Very hard to pronounce.
Very hard to pronounce. But when you look at it, the label, I mean, it's elegant.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's elegant. It's
very premium looking.
Very premium looking. And we have, for example, another label that's yellow and has, a wolf in the label, and it has a few different things. I didn't have one, unfortunately, on hand to bring today, but I was going to. But, that would not fit, for example, for a higher end place.
Okay.
That, a couple other, go ahead.
So sorry, I was going to say, so how much do you, when you and your partner are making decisions on what to bring in, do you look at, and are you influenced by just like the look and the feel before you even try the liquid? Or for you, is it always about the liquid?
No, it's about the liquid. No, it's about the liquid. Yes, I mean, liquid is definitely. I mean, it's a top priority for sure. I mean, the wine. If the label is, let's say, if the liquid is great, the liquid is good, but the label is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can consider it. But if the liquid is amazing, but the label is totally off whack, and the name, because we have to consider. I mean, we are the words are. We have to listen and look at the words, and some words have a totally different meaning.
Yeah.
In a different language, right? So we've had that experience from, there's a couple labels that when you read that in English, it just doesn't sound. So it's tricky. It can be tricky, and a lot of people buy just based on name and based on the look of the label. That's just just out there for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, one quick thought. I met with someone who is a sommelier up in Whistler. This is when I was still selling beer, so years ago, and I was asking him. My partner Lindsay at the time was a big fan of like big California reds. Mm-hmm. That's kind of her go-to when it comes to wine. She likes a big body California red. So I was asking him about a certain brand that I got for her. She really liked it, and how do I say this? He basically told me it was crap. He basically told me it was just really good marketing. And it seems like there are a few brands, and I won't name any names right now, but they must move. I don't know. Do you guys measure in hectoliters? How do you measure your volume?
In Portugal?
No, just if you right now look at your sales, I know in beer sales they would measure hectoliters. So a hectoliter is 100 liters. Yeah. 100 liters. So I don't know how do you measure wine?
Normally.
Like bottles, cases?
We talk normally cases.
Okay, so this one brand I know, I've seen displays of like, I'm guessing like 200 cases, 300 cases in multiple stores. Mm-hmm. But from speaking to this gentleman, it's basically, he called it like sugar water. It was just like, it was not real wine, but people love it because it's sweet and it gets them buzzed, but it's not really wine. Mm-hmm. And having the opportunity to speak with someone like him who's so educated on this topic, he was able to lead me down the path of something that is a true cab, like a true big California red that isn't necessarily just a fancy logo, some cool branding, and a bunch of sugar. So as someone who's in this space and doing this every single day, do you get frustrated or daunted by success of brands or liquids that are just way below what you can get from a Portuguese wine or any other wine for that matter?
As a company, not really, to be honest. As an individual, if I could swear, I'd probably tell you that I just don't really give whatever everyone else is doing. I just do really put the effort in what I'm trying to do and the philosophy that we have and the direction that we want to go. And there's definitely lots out there. I mean, there's tons. We don't have to go even outside of the country, but it's just, I mean, it's super easy to just get grapes from anywhere and just create a good brand and something that because it's all about the winner, right? It's all about that brand that's gonna catch, and that's what most companies kind of try to do. Being an agent or being a winery is just creating that one or two or that brand that's going to be just like, people will, people are going to just dream of it. And just
exactly.
Like they just
every Friday night, it's what they buy.
Yeah.
For someone that hasn't really dabbled in Portuguese wine, say they are more of the Californians, or they're into the French or into New Zealand wines, whatever it may be, how would you describe? Obviously, there's many different varietals that Portugal offers, but how would you describe the differences or the likeness that Portuguese wines have to other big players out there as far as different terroirs in the world? Mm-hmm. So how would you kind of describe the grapes and what people can expect from a Portuguese wine?
Yeah. So. There's, for example, a couple examples. There's a varietal called Castelão.
Castelão.
Castelão in Portuguese varietal. That's we kind of say in Portugal and internationally that is sort of the Pinot Noir of Portugal. And then you have, for example, Loureiro is a white varietal grown in Vinho Verde region, and most people kind of say that would be the Riesling of Portugal.
Okay.
So there's definitely a connectivity that you can sort of you can have between the native varietals to the international varietals. There's definitely sort of a bit of a schematic. You can kind of put that together. It's just, there's not been enough information out there, enough education, enough, I have to say that some other countries, like Chile, Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, they've done an amazing job the last decade to really, just put the word out there. It doesn't have to be a particular label or just, New Zealand, visit New Zealand, like all that. So there's definitely been.
They've been helped by kind of their local tourism.
Yeah, Portugal
and their government.
Exactly. And Portugal has done not so much of a good job in general in terms of the collectively, to sort of bring that up and bring because.
Is it that they want to keep it for themselves? Do you think?
As far as I know, as far as I've talked to people, seems like the main aspect is always a budget of some sort.
Okay, right.
Always, the budget is always allocated somehow that's not effectively. And then there's something else that kind of like they've been doing it for a while that it's not really. I see it in a different way. Basically, they bring the market to the country, and I think the country should be brought to the market. Bringing the market to the country. I mean, it's just there's always a lot of people that go and visit the country,
right? And
sort of industry or not or all that, but then they come back, but there's not enough follow-up. There's not enough people talking about it. They didn't necessarily buy wine, or they didn't necessarily import wine.
Right.
So it's just a little bit kind of, I think Portugal should just put more effort in sort of coming into the market and just advertising, just, passing the message, bus stops or whatever magazines, anything.
How much of what you do you feel like is strictly an educational piece? Like, do you feel like you're kind of flying the flag of Portugal in BC, and maybe, I don't know who else is doing this in Canada? Like, are you kind of the only ones? And what is that like for you? As much as you're out there selling, but you're also educating as well, no?
Yeah. Well, this is something that I've done since I've been here. I've always promoted. I've always I'll buy some something from Portugal, piri sauce or whoever, and I just give it to people, to friends. I'll buy. I have a little other small business, Portuguese egg tarts, and I'll just bring in a dozen to work, and I share with people. Like, people say, "Oh, this is Portuguese. Wow, I mean, this exists." So I've been always doing that job. But in terms of the wine, I think, as far as I know, I mean, we are 100% Portuguese wine. So, and I do a lot of that daily, just sharing information. Just different grapes, just sharing knowledge on what Portugal has to offer. I mean, there's a lot of fun facts about Portugal that people don't know, and it's always fun. I mean, Portugal is like the oldest DOC region in the world.
Wow.
Douro is the oldest DOC.
Wow.
The only DOC cognac outside of France comes from Portugal. So it's like stuff like that, right? So it's pretty cool. So I enjoy sharing it with the consumer.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's a bit of that. And I haven't had the pleasure of visiting Portugal yet. It definitely is on my radar. But I wonder if there is a bit of that where they are wanting just to kind of keep the best for themselves. So they don't want to necessarily do these worldwide or North American marketing plans to kind of blow it up. Maybe they're trying to keep it a bit hidden.
Well, not so much. I mean, I can see what you mean. But I really understand, and I know that the budget's moving. I mean, Portugal only got out of dictatorship like 30 years ago,
Right.
74. So 30 plus years ago, almost 40. But so there was always, until then, I mean, until 74, that no one could like get out of the
Couldn't
country.
move, yeah.
I mean, so it's and also the way the viticulture in Portugal was always very oriented towards, especially for example, the north was also oriented towards port. People didn't have the budget to like start a new company, start a brand. I mean, create something new other than just sell their own grapes to the port houses. So that was always what happened for a long time until, you know, when Portugal got into the EU, and then in the 90s, and then starting to get some more funding. But still the funding was always very limited, even though there was funding coming. And then not necessarily the funds was always used in the right way. You know, someone will get funding for viticulture and open a gas station.
Right.
Someone will, you know, it's like stuff like that. It was like,
Really, that happens?
oh yeah, I know someone that did that.
Are you
So
serious?
so it's like stuff like that. I mean, it's Portugal is not, you know, I don't say it. Yeah, there's always been a bit of the level of that corruption, a bit of that,
Right.
you know, like just people like, I mean, you get, you know, some funds, and you're not gonna. It's who wants to, you know. Back in the days, people were just like. Now it's different. Now people actually. Back in the days, no one wanted to go go on a viticulture cult, you know, or produce or grow apples or
Right.
whatever, right? It's like that was like no, and now I mean, now it's the opposite. Actually, most of our producers, quite a few of our producers, they are engineers, professors.
Oh wow!
And they've seen the last 5 plus 7 years, 10 years. Within the last 10 years, they've actually said no. We're not gonna sell our grapes to some big houses. We're gonna actually do something with our grapes and the heritage and the farm from our ancestors. So they've been. We have quite a few. Lawyer. One producer from Avelino, she's a lawyer, and she gave it up, and now they're into viticulture full time. So there's quite a few of those. I would say a good 30+% of our producers have been, you know, on that side of jobs. And
how much pride does that give you when you hear stories like that, and now you're able to help facilitate these people grow their brands in a place like Vancouver or in Canada? And then does that pride carry over to when you open that bottle and you pour that glass for that person and you just know it's going to blow them away? What do you feel when, as someone who's from Portugal, pouring a wine from your country and really showing someone what it is? Is there a sense of pride? Like, what do you feel?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've always had that sense of pride since I've been here, just by, you know, just sharing the word Portugal all the time. But I mean, opening a bottle of wine it's always, I mean, it's amazing because I mean, pretty much, you know, all our wines, people is always like, wow, is this Portugal? Like, wow. It's like people just get like no idea, because if you taste all the wines blindly, the people they would never say it's Portuguese wines, because they're just done differently. It's just different. I mean, something like this, 100% Touriga Nacional with no oak influence. Even the Portuguese older generations would say, you guys are crazy to do something like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Touriga Nacional is a varietal that's a very powerful varietal.
Similar to?
Like on a cab side,
Okay,
you know, things,
yeah.
you know, lots of tannins, you know,
Big.
very robust, big.
Yeah.
It's the main varietal into making port wine.
Okay, yeah.
Just because that tannin is going to really hold a long time. So, you know, they just criticized in the beginning, and they say, you know, I think, Touriga Nacional needs to have oak. No way you're gonna sell. And this fellow is Antonio Massanita. He's done a tremendous job and really revolutionizing the industry. And you know, this is everybody, when they taste this, they're like, this is amazing. What is this? Like, if you don't tell them what it is, they just so. It's a good feeling to really showcase all these wines to people, and for them to understand. Wow, I mean, because every label people say, you know, there's so much more. Then they understand that there's so much more. But until people try it, there's a bit of that.
if someone's out there right now listening, whether they're here local or they're in Germany or they're in Kenya or wherever they are, and they have access to go and try a Portuguese wine. Obviously, you don't know what's available in their city or in their country, but what would be, and this is a bit of a tough question, but what would be one or two of the, let's just go with the varietals, and you can talk about specific vineyards if you want, but what would be one or two of them that you think, like, this is, if you're going to get introduced to Portuguese wines, this is what I would recommend?
Yeah, for anywhere out there, I just say, get out of the comfort zone. Like, instead of just going for the Alvarinho and going for the Douro, which people either know Alvarinho, they know Douro, and Alentejo a little bit. That's sort of the main common words that I hear the most. But just get out of the comfort zone. Order a wine that has Anton Vaz and Rinto, Loureiro, like just, or I do it all the time myself, even Portuguese from other agents. I just buy other things and I just say, well, I mean, because the Loureiro, which is kind of like our Riesling of Portugal, can taste so much different in Vinho Verde region or Alentejo region in the south. And it's just, I mean, for me, I gotta learn every day. I gotta keep growing and learning. So for me, I still need to taste. But I mean, for the average consumer, just buy something different. And don't be afraid to spend another. I mean, I know that sometimes the circumstances can be, can be tough for some people to spend. But I mean, if your average wine out there for Portugal is, let's say $15 average, buy a bottle that's 25, maybe once every few months or something, just so it's not just, you're going to get that value. You're going to understand and you're going to be like, oh, okay, wow. I mean, it's, there's definitely value in it. It's just, I mean, just get out of the comfort zone and try. And I mean, and read. I think a good thing to do is get a different grape varietal and read about it a little bit. I mean, it doesn't have to be too much. Just punch that name on Google and just say, hey, what is this?
Educate yourself.
Educate a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I think because we all do it in other varietals. I mean, we all do it in North American varietals and everything. Yeah. So it's just not any different. And it's not going to be a whole book about a varietal. It's going to be a couple paragraphs, and we'll tell you a bit about what it is.
Sommeliers have been kind of highlighted now. They've been on Netflix shows and documentaries, and that whole world is definitely being celebrated a bit more. People take wine very, very seriously from an educational standpoint. Have you met any somms or anyone that is kind of well educated when it comes to wine who doesn't know a lot about Portuguese wines, or are these people, they're well aware of what Portugal has to offer and they can tell you some things as well? Or are they still lacking as far as the knowledge and education with that? Yeah,
so for in Vancouver wise, just because that's kind of where we are right now and in general. But I think most somms they really appreciate, and they're really curious and very, very eager to try as many labels as possible. And I find it very cool. And I think there's a couple somms in the city that have been to Portugal, and you can really tell, like you can really connect differently, and it's amazing to see when they when you talk to someone that's been there, and it's just I mean, but I think everyone is willing to learn here. I think they're willing to. It just also. Let's say all the WSET programs, ISG programs, for example. I mean, there's never really the Portuguese section still always a little bit kind of undervalued. I think.
Right.
I've done it myself, WSET, but I think it still could be a bit more engaging and could be a bit more broad. But I find that it's just I think.
So do you feel like, and I'm just picking up on this, maybe I'm wrong, but do you feel like you're kind of quote unquote out here alone, like swinging this Portuguese bat, trying to make a difference and put Portugal, on the map? Like, do you want for help from your home country? Are you crying for help from them? Be like, guys, like we can do a lot more if we come together as do like this unified front, or are you fine with just head down and keep doing it? I just feel like I feel like there's so much to offer, but there's not a lot of support necessarily for what it is that you're doing from your country or from the wineries themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, that is something that I go, like I said, I go to Portugal every year, and I've had meetings with, viticulture associations and the Wine Institute of Portugal, and so everybody and a lot of people, and and my message continues to be the same with them, and I don't necessarily cry for any resources, any funds for them to really I think they could help with some funds but not necessarily, not just to help us. I mean, I feel like my message to them, they always feel like we asking for help for our company, but we said we just want you to be in the market, and promote the country, promote the regions, promote the varietals, promote the food, promote the culture. I don't need you to promote my wines. Just be present, and not just like one event a year, and where it's always the same suspects. And it's people continue to.
What is that event usually?
Usually there's a Wines of Portugal event in the city here. Sometimes there's one more, but it's just Portugal continues to have that sort of what do you call that? Like I was just said that word earlier.
Like a stigma?
Like a bureaucratic, not a bureaucratic, but more like that of what do you call that? So basically the same companies continue to be sponsoring that event. Therefore, their wines continue to be
right. So nothing changes.
Nothing changes. But I spoke with one of them recently, and I said, why don't you just divide it, make it artisanal. One time of the year, artisanal producers, mid-range producers, large companies, different,
mix it up.
Just mix it up. So to give the opportunity, because none of these guys, they can compete coming into the market. Some of them, they can't afford to buy a plane ticket, because this is like husband and wife, most of them, like
exactly,
and they have like 10 acres, and they can't. So they can't compete with the big companies. Right. So if the program is put out to everybody,
right?
They're not gonna make it, and they continue not to making it. And it's just sad to see that so many great producers, they don't have the opportunity to come and not even just to bring their wines here, but to just come and say hi. Right. And say, hey, we exist.
We're here,
and
exactly.
We have this products, and
let us know.
That because
otherwise, how do people know?
Yeah.
Right?
So
I don't know if you and I talked about this the first time we met up, and maybe we did, but it keeps coming up. And again, I know very little about wine because I no longer drink it, but natural wine keeps coming up. I keep hearing it, whether it's on social media or there's now restaurants that are really pushing it here locally. There's a bunch of pop-up dinners that are happening, and a lot of them are focused around natural wines. Mm-hmm. Portuguese or not, what is your opinion on natural wines? Is this a thing? Is it a fad? Is it here to last? What is going on with natural wines, and why does it exist? And are there any in Portugal that are worth mentioning, or no?
The natural wines segment it's very interesting. I mean, it's right now I think there's still a lot of room, the road is long for natural wines, very long, as opposite to, let's say, organic, because you can still make wines that are they can be appreciated for the masses mm-hmm. without sort of having a bit of that, because people don't understand. People, when a general consumer tries natural wine, most of the time they just don't understand it, because it's just hard to understand what it is.
Right.
And it's just
wine to them.
It just, you're kind of supporting, when you're drinking natural wine, you're kind of supporting the trend mm-hmm. and supporting that more than you really enjoying it, in my opinion. I think probably 75% plus of the wines that I've tried that are natural, it was mostly kind of to discover and to really see what really a particular varietal can do as a natural wine. But would that be a good representation of the particular varietal? in my opinion, I think there's still a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I continue to try just because I continue to try to understand what is the market doing and like what is the, you know, like the place we went at Burdock. I mean, they only sell natural wines, right? So you know, I understand that, and Andrew told me, like, you know, we only get sell natural wines. I said, I totally understand. I mean, but for me on the other side, I try to see what they sell and try to taste what other places are selling for natural wines, and then so I can sort of go back and say, okay, this is kind of something that could work or not. I've tasted a few from Portugal. There is a few on the pipeline for me, for us, and I think we eventually, I think not this year, but maybe for next spring, we'll probably bring a natural wine or two.
Do you think it is a fad though? Do you feel like it's? And here's the thing: I find a lot of times restaurants that I work with can sacrifice the quality just to tick certain boxes, meaning they'll bring in a local quote unquote organic tomato that won't actually be that great, but there is a tomato farmer from, say, Washington State that's doing amazing things with their tomatoes, and it's only a little bit further away, and whatever the situation may be, like, it's just, I always question, is this the hill you're willing to die on? So are you sacrificing, in your opinion, sometimes the quality of the wine if you are just going, you know what, I only buy natural wines?
No, I would not sacrifice. I'll not sacrifice the trend and the direction for the flavor profile of the wine that I get from Portugal.
Right.
If it's going to be natural, it has to fit a particular. It has to still be enjoyable. I have to say, I want to drink a full bottle of this.
Right.
I don't want to drink a natural wine that I drink a glass and after that I'm like, I just can't drink anymore.
Right.
You know, and I've tasted a few that I mean, with all the respect, and you know, people are doing it, you know, it's great, but the natural wine movement needs to understand that people still need enjoyment.
Yeah, quality needs to be there. Yeah.
So I mean, yes, I mean, I'm okay to go to Burdock, for example, and have a glass of natural wine, no problem. But we're still far from having a good movement with great wines that taste great, that you can actually evolve and you can actually, you know, make it so it's worth it to really dive in, right? It's not there yet, or it's still far. But like I said, there's a few. But as on another hand, I mean, for Portugal itself, I mean, a lot of the wines, they're actually almost like natural wines. I mean, in a way, but a lot of our wines, I mean, all they do is just a bit of sulfur pre-bottling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's hand-picked, food-trodden, it's lagar fermented, it's, you know, the wine is pumped with it's all by gravity, there's no pumping machines, there's no pesticides. They do a bit of a couple, you know, just something that's just bare minimums. And in a winery, it's just a bit of sulfur before bottling, or maybe a little bit after pre-fermentation. But it's just not a. Yeah, it's just almost as natural.
Yeah, it's pretty close to natural.
And I mean the practices are very, very. I mean the thing is too is they can't afford. Well, natural, let's say, other than the natural, let's say the organic side of things. I mean, they just can't afford, and they don't want to wait for 6 years to make it organic and pay 10,000 euros.
Right.
This is not worth it. So, I mean, yeah, it's the natural wines will be something to. I mean, I want to be part of it. You know, I don't want to say it's, but. I want to be part of it with a good label, like with a good wine that people can say, you know what, I think I drink a bottle of this. Of
the 3 bottles you brought today, which one do you feel the most proud of, the actual liquid in the bottle? When you'll be sampling this later today with some potential customers or existing customers, which one, when you pour it, are you kind of smiling? That's a tough question. Oh, yeah?
Well, no. I mean, like I said, I mean, it is a tough question, just because all 3 are very different profiles.
Right.
But I would say probably this middle one here.
Which is Herdade
do Arrepiado Velho in Alentejo. I would say more comfortable based on price quality.
Okay.
You know, because you know, people will say, okay, I'll pay, and once they taste it, they say, okay, this, you know, for the average restaurant. If you're talking about more high end, I think most of them will say, no, I prefer a bit more, pay a bit more, but get this value, get this quality.
Right.
And this one here, because it has no oak,
Just unique.
and most people still, even in North America, most consumer think still, and the perception is what they've heard in the past is that a Trigo Nacional needs to have oak influence.
Right.
So when they see a price point like this with no oak, people say, oh, wow. I mean, you know, it's.
Can we talk price points?
Yeah. So this one here is on a, let's say, retail.
Yeah.
For restaurant.
Yeah.
This will be on mid-30s.
So this is the
37.
This is the unoaked.
So this is the unoaked.
Yeah.
Trigo Nacional is made in Alentejo, the southern part of the country. It'll be on 37, 38-ish.
Okay.
And then this one here is same region. They're all the same region, actually. I wanted to kind of, the reason why I brought it is because I wanted to sort of showcase the same region but totally different different styles.
Yeah.
So now you have here Trigo Nacional 100% as well, and that has seen 6 months of oak.
Okay.
This is a different project than this, but the same winemaker.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But different styles of oak, but same varietal.
Right.
So it's kind of.
And what is that middle one?
So the middle one is on a 24-ish.
Okay. A little more approachable, yeah.
And the Fita Preta here is 3 native varietals. A lot of people kind of know Aragonés, which Aragonés is your Tempranillo in Spain.
Yep.
And then you have your Alicante Boucher, which is technically a French varietal I got inherited by Portugal a long time ago. And then Trincadeira, which is another native varietal. So this one goes more on a 30-ish.
Okay.
And but this one for the price, I mean, it feels big, you know, it feels like what people kind of expect from Portugal,
right?
Even though being from Alentejo. So for the price point, for like about, you know, 30 few, people kind of, okay, wow, I see a lot of value in this. Yeah, shout out to like Nightingale. They've been doing a great job.
Amazing, yeah. Shout out Nightingale,
with this, with Fita Preta. And
so if people are out right now, it's hot, it's sunny here right now. We do have listeners in Australia and New Zealand. So obviously it's winter months there for you guys. But let's just talk about warm climates right now. It's hot, it's sunny. People are eating on patios. People are dining outside. They're having barbecues. But if you could talk to anyone that's going out, say this coming weekend, to a restaurant or a bar, and they open up a wine list, and there is let's just say a decent selection from Portugal, what would be the varietal you think plays best with the current weather we're experiencing, whether it be a white varietal or a red varietal? What would you recommend listeners look for when it's hot and sunny out and they're out dining?
So on a dining side of things, Alvarinho is your Alvarinho in Spain. It's a great varietal for summer. Nice chilled. I mean, depending on what Alvarinho you get, because you can get your Spanish Alvarinho style. You can get the Portuguese Alvarinho style. Then you have the fizzy side. You can have a Alvarinho. You can have a Vinho Verde with you can have an Alvarinho that's made in still, which means no fizz. Yeah. You can have an Alvarinho with fizz. So you can have an Alvarinho, you know. So depending on what,
if you were dining with this person, what would you order?
A day like today,
yeah,
definitely. If I was dining, I think probably an Alvarinho with fizz today. Something kind of it's traditional. That's kind of just like, it depends who I'm dining for. I mean, who am I dining with?
Right.
You know. If I'm dining with a som, let's say, that's more geeky and really kind of, I would definitely open an Alvarinho with no fizz.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just different, and that's not usually not available in the market.
Okay.
But if it's something
just
more casual,
yeah.
friend, more fun, patio, like with fizz, just to really get a bit more of that summer kind of a feel. And because Alvarinhos without fizz, they can be a bit more gastronomic.
Oh, okay.
It can be a bit
Interesting.
more,
A little more dynamic.
a bit more of a foodie wine.
Interesting.
In fact, we have an Alvarinho. So we have 3 Alvarinhos and then another Vinho Verde that is not made from Alvarinho. That's actually a lot of potential for aging. I've tasted it back to 14.
Oh wow.
And it's amazing. So
Yeah.
2 other varietals, Arinto and Azal. So a Vinho Verde with not made from Alvarinho, no fizz. It's very intriguing for people, and it's just like wow, it's pretty cool. So
I don't even drink, and I'm interested to try it. It sounds super interesting.
yeah. So if you're drinking red, I mean, in the restaurants, it's hard to find a red from the regions that have the lightest wines.
Okay.
You can in down you can find from down region. Even this thing with because there's no oak, it's fresh, very vibrant, perfumey, so you can actually chill it down a little bit.
Okay.
And you can drink it even on a hot day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you can. It all really depends what temperature you serve it as well. Because Touriga is it really adjusts, so serving a little cooler would be definitely a good bottle for summer.
If listeners are out there and they're intrigued by what is going on in Portugal right now, maybe they've been or they've yet to go, but it's on the radar like it is mine, and hitting up wineries and educating themselves when they visit Portugal, what areas would you send people to? Say the top 3 spots you would say you have to hit these regions to really educate yourself on what Portugal has to offer when it comes to wine.
Douro. I mean, Douro is always been the region that most people relate to, even though they've never been there. And also, I mean, being a World Heritage Site since 2008, I believe.
Oh, I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's the Douro is like you drive through those sucalcos, which is the cheese in English is basically the vineyards being on the steps. I forgot the name of it right now in English. So anyway, it's just a great landscape. It's pretty amazing how they do things there, and it's just you can drive around, which is quite hard if you're not from there.
Right.
But you can take the river cruise. You can start in Porto. You can fly to Porto, take the river cruise all the way up. You can actually take it all the way to Spain if you want to, but take it about just a quarter of the way is enough.
Okay.
And stop. Obviously, going there in terms of visiting wineries, you can always visit the major wineries. They always much more set up for tourism.
Tourists. Yeah.
But if you really want to know and you really want to be geeky about it, just hit up someone that knows someone in there.
Right.
Someone that knows a producer, that's very small, and you're gonna get a good experience. I think
maybe they can hit you up.
Definitely.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Shoot you a note and ask you where to go.
Hey, bro, I keep giving tips to like people all the time.
Yeah.
Almost like every other week, I'm sending emails to people about people are going to Portugal like so much right now. And
really?
I have like a drafted email now a drafted email for Lisbon, a drafted email for Porto.
Yeah.
Because people are just going.
They're always asking.
Yeah. And then Lisbon is Lisbon is great. So Lisbon region is actually a very interesting region. There's a lot of diversity within the Lisbon region. It's very Atlantic, so very coastal. You get a lot of that freshness. You have a lot of different types of soils. You have a small micro region that's just outside of Lisbon, about half an hour, called Colares. All the vines are grown in sandy soils.
Oh, interesting.
So there are white wines grown there that they age 30, 40 years. So I had a 69 Colares in last June. I was like, man, that thing still has acid.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was like, wow. And, so then you're going a bit more north. You have, you get that region where there's that brandy that comes out of Lourinhã, a small DOC region. So it's very diverse as well. And lots of history. Lisbon itself. Lisbon itself, it's amazing. And that's pretty much the two main. The other regions are a little harder because they there's not really sometimes a main city that you can kind of. It's a little harder to, but I mean, explore. If you want to be comfortable, yes, these are great options. If you want to be uncomfortable, which you should, everybody should sort of be uncomfortable and
at some point, yeah.
Yeah, so go drive to, Alentejo, or like it's sometimes you feel like you're lost because you're driving hours and hours overseas, like olive trees for a long time. So it's kind of, it's great. I mean, but just if you want to be geeky and if you really want to learn, visit small producers. Yeah, email me. I mean, if you can email me, anyone can email me anytime at avelino@premiumportugalwines.com.
Perfect.
And just explore. It's a small country. You can really easily get around, but it's packed with a lot of stuff. Over 300 different varietals.
And great food as well. Not just wine, but great food as well.
Yeah, great food as well. Definitely. Yeah. Food is.
I still have to try these egg tarts. Where do I get them?
That's right.
Where do I get them locally again?
I deliver them.
You deliver them. Yeah.
I'll bring you some.
No,
I know.
No, I need to place an order.
Jeez, no. I need to make that happen. Yeah. Jeez.
As you know, Avelino, this show is called the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast. So before I let you officially go, I have 2 questions for you that I ask every single guest. I'm going to ask you them now, put you on the spot. They are these questions. The first one is the half a dozen have-tos. The half a dozen have-tos, which means I need from you 1 to 6 things you've experienced in your life that you feel like our listeners have to experience. A trip you've taken, a meal you've eaten, a bottle of wine you've opened and drank with friends, a concert you've been to. 1 to 6 items that you feel like our listeners have to do.
So the first one will be definitely travel. Travel has been a big part of my life. A big part of every year I travel. Did a lot of traveling on the cruise ships. I mean, traveling is definitely and excuses. A lot of people, I was ticketing this, that, my work, and we always gonna be having excuses. Just book that ticket.
Yeah.
And just do what I used to do in a way. It was like I booked the ticket and then I booked the time off. So, you just got to do it, like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go around the globe, but just travel.
Go somewhere, see
something new, different culture, ask people, go have a beer with the local there. I was in Vietnam a few years ago and just like randomly, I just, I'm going to go find some random supermarket and I just had a beer with a local. I didn't speak a word of Vietnamese, didn't speak a word of English, but just that smile and just like connecting with it, just that's enough.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can learn when you amazing what you can learn even when you don't speak the same language.
Yeah.
Especially when you travel. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
People,
people. Yeah.
For the wine lovers, Douro is definitely a must go.
Yeah.
Just it's breathtaking, and I've given a lot of tips to people to go there, and when they come back, they tell me just like it's wow, it's a different. People don't expect, because it's always like, oh, Portugal, a small country. Sometimes people think it's in Spain or think it's whatever, Lisbon is in Madrid or whatever, stuff like that. So it's like, when they come back, they're like, wow, it's pretty spectacular, and the value of traveling to Portugal, the value is amazing. I mean, it's compared to other cities, Paris, London. I've been to all of those, and it's just like Venice, stuff like that. I mean, geez, Portugal is like,
it's a bargain.
It's a bargain. I mean, you eat the steak for like under $10.
Wow.
And it's like, it's
quality.
Yeah, and quality, exactly. So, so definitely in the wine, if you're in the wine business or you love wine, or just visit Douro. For food, I've really learned to really love. I've learned to love Vietnamese food a lot.
Okay.
I eat pretty much every week. I eat Vietnamese food.
Locally here in Vancouver.
Locally here.
Can we shout someone out?
Yeah, definitely. There's a small place here in Victoria, Bun Chaka Hoyen.
Bun Chaka Hoyen.
It's like amazing.
Where is it?
Amazing.
Victoria and what?
Victoria and 20 something,
okay.
I think.
Okay. Bun Chaka.
Bun Chaka. So it's like
What do you
It's
get?
amazing,
What do
man.
you get when you go there?
So they have this, the squid cake soup.
Okay.
So they make this squid cakes, and
Interesting.
yeah, but it's like, first time I saw it, I was like, man, I don't know. Well, I'm adventurous in food. I eat anything, but
Right.
I've been eating pho for a long time, many years.
Yeah.
But I tried that, and I literally go there like every few weeks, and it's it's amazing. So it's a big bowl of noodles, rice noodles, and they have bit of that Chinese Vietnamese celery, tomato, roasted tomato. They have the squid cake, lots of scallions, lots of onion, caramelized onion on top.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, it's super nice. I mean, obviously a bit more of a winter dish.
Yeah.
But even summertime, I go because I don't.
'Cause you
doesn't
love
bother me. Yeah, the heat is. I don't care.
You like the heat. We talked about that already.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
if you have a chance, it's just Bunchaca. Bunchaca.
Punchaka. I'm gonna check it out, man.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
Line up all the time.
Really?
Yeah, line up. I've never seen less than 10 people outside.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's obviously in the summertime slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
3-4 people. Sometimes once in a while there'll be a table available when you get there, but very rarely.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth
Maybe
it.
we should go together, dude.
We should.
check it out.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let me know next time you go. I'd love to. I've never had squid
Yeah.
cake, and it's just fun to say bunchaka.
Yeah. They make their own squid cake and stuff.
Yeah.
They have the fish cake as well.
Yeah.
Which is different. It's sliced. The squid cake is it's chopped in more of like chunkier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Something else that you must do. You must just do different things. You know.
Give me an example.
You know.
Climb a mountain. Skydive.
Last weekend I went jet skiing. You know, like.
Oh, cool.
Then I just. I go hiking the next day. Go like try a new hike that I've never been. Like don't you know, or you know just different. Like I'll go to an art show. Like it's just like I try to look for events, and then if I see something, you know, I try to see something that I'm maybe I don't know so much about, and just you know, like a lot of people. I mean, I get it. A lot of people are not into different things, but I think it's not just about what you're gonna go see or do. It's about the people that you may connect when you go there.
For sure.
Right. So when I go to an art show, I enjoy art, but I think what you get out of the people connection value, it's more valuable to me.
Have you always been that way? Have you always kind of looked for that adventure?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've always been zillion events in the city. I'm always like, you know, checking out the city, see people. You know, sometimes I'll go to like 3 restaurants in one night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll go say
You'll
hi
do like
here.
appetizers at one, main at another, and dessert. Yeah,
exactly. I'll go visit people, and not just now that obviously. I mean, I do it now as well
for the business.
But before, you know, even since I've been here, I've always done that.
Oh man, so cool.
And that's how like now I know a lot of people in the industry. You know, I go here. I mean, so it's fun. I mean, even it's a hobby as well. I mean, it's my hobby is eating and dining and stuff like that. So.
Can we quickly shout out any local spots? We talked about Burdock, obviously. Andrea and her team do amazing things at Burdock & Co. Anything else locally here in Vancouver that you think is, and you mentioned Nightingale's a big supporter of you and your brands. Anywhere else that people should check out if they're in Vancouver that both you think that both you really like and maybe even carry your wines as well?
Chambar always been
nice
a favorite since day one.
Are you going to that Yes Chef event? The Worth Association that's being hosted.
I've seen it. I don't think I can on that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I've been going to Chambar since the old location since day one, and they've moved. And they continue to be consistently good, and they do carry one of the wines there, and you know, Nook in the West End. Yeah, it's always been a favorite. They don't carry any of my wines, which is totally fine. They all 100% Italian. It's fine. And to me, not gonna just not go because of that.
Right.
You know, it's been consistent as well. You know, the customer service there is always fantastic. We do miss Chris now. Chris has moved to, I think, Kelowna, which was.
Okay, Chris was doing what? Sorry,
Chris was one of the part owners.
Oh, okay.
And also front of the house at the West End location. On Denman.
Yeah.
And he was the kind of guy that you get in there and be like, I got a glass of wine for you. This bottle is from somewhere. Someone brought it from a suitcase, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. I have a glass of that.
Yeah.
You know, all the time. Like, he's like almost refused to serve me a glass of something from the list.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's super cool. Like a beer, he'll have some beer like I've never seen.
There's an adventure there, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I've always loved Nook for that. Yeah, I mean, I think Nightingale is fantastic. I've also been going there for a long time as well. I mean, consistently food. They have probably, I think, in one of the best charcuterie platters in the city.
Oh wow!
Diversity, you know, good pickles, good focaccia, you know, good prosciutto, good quality prosciutto, you know, all that. It's always it's always one of my favorite things to eat in general is that kind of stuff. Charcuterie, figs, prosciutto.
That style of
burrata,
eating.
That kind of style of eating, you know. So that's that's something that I always look forward to go there and go for lunch here and there. So
did I cut you? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They do carry fita preta there.
Okay, great. There you go.
It's always a good.
And would you consume that with your charcuterie board?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I tend to explore other than just ordering our wines when I go out. I mean, if I go with a group and we order a couple things, maybe order one just to kind of, but yeah, I mean, I always like to explore. So I need to.
But if someone else is listening and they're going there this weekend and they're ordering a charcuterie board, you would recommend this wine, yes?
Yeah, you can definitely. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's on a summer day, the charcuterie board. I mean, it may be a little bit on the heavier side.
Okay.
But you know, in the end, I mean, you drink what you love and you drink what you like. And I mean, I don't necessarily pair all the time. I think pairing could be cool. Yeah. But I don't necessarily pair food all the time. I mean, I'll drink white with a rich food.
Right.
You know, I mean, it really depends. Yeah.
There's so many variables when it comes to this.
There's no right or wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, no right or wrong.
Did I stop you too soon on the have-tos? Do you have more?
One more is just learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, just learn new things. Just read about new things. You know, listen to Brad's podcast.
Shameless plug.
You know what? I mean, since I've been listening to the podcast, I mean, I've learned so much about different things. You know, I mean, all the different people that I interview. I've learned some cool things. I mean, I was just listening to the one on one of your friends, farmer, that he was telling that you know, he has to put 50% down on you know, to buy a piece of land. Yeah. You know, the bank requires 50% down from a farmer. You know, I was like, how can this, you know, like, it's amazing. It's crazy. So, you know, different other things that, I've listened to quite a few and I listen on a daily basis when I'm walking around town. And I
appreciate that. Yeah. The amount of information out there, whether it's this podcast or others, it's just amazing. So find something that you're into, whether it's wine or farming or skateboarding or whatever it is. There's a podcast out there. For sure. There's people that are facilitating conversations. So, yeah, I like that as a have to, meaning learning, whether it's books. I mean, books right now are super accessible as well. You can do an audio book, like you were saying, as you're walking, or do a podcast, whatever it is. But I said to my partner Lindsay, I said, we'll never let our kids say they're bored as they grow up, just because there's so much. Like, if you want to learn a new language this week, learn a new language. It's that accessible to you. Do you know what I mean? It's just, there's so much out there right now.
Yeah, people just get too comfortable sometimes, you know, like
exactly.
Uncomfortable. And just, you know, learning is, I really enjoy learning about new things, you know, like watches, you know, I mean, I love watches as well. I mean, like,
is that your thing?
Yeah, I got a job with no experience, and just because I knew so much about watches.
What was the job?
There was a La Suisse store at the Pacific Center before they've closed a while ago. Yeah. I just walked in there and I was just looking at one of the watches and was just like, oh. And she's like, oh, yeah. She started asking me a few questions. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you need a job? I'm like, wow. Yeah, I was like, okay. It's just because I knew like all the movement parts and everything like that. Just by learning, just by reading.
What are you wearing right now?
Frederic Constant.
Which is what?
Frederic Constant is a Swiss made. It's it's pretty standard watch, automatic.
It's beautiful.
It's just kind of.
Is that your go-to daily watch?
Yeah, this is my daily watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple of 1947 Connie, doesn't make anymore, and then a couple other things.
Dang, man.
Yeah,
sounds
three
beautiful.
or four, just for fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now you need
now I need the half a dozen. This guy came prepared, guys. he has a list. He's ready to go. So now we're moving on to the.
Sorry, man.
I like
the
it.
timing might be a little. You might be short on time.
No, man, you're doing great. I like it. The half a dozen haven't yet. So for those of you that don't know, we need from Avelino 1 to 6 of things that he has yet to experience in his life. Kind of like a bucket list. He's well prepared. I'm going to sit back and shut up. I'm going to let him list off his 6. Do your thing. Go for it.
One big one for me, food wise, is I would love to visit and dine at Jiro Dreams of Sushi in Tokyo. Yeah, it's been on my bucket list for a long time. I have not been to Tokyo, so that will be first on the list as soon as I land in Tokyo, maybe even before showering or anything like that.
I like that one.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a good one. Look forward to it before
before your last days.
Before his last days.
Yeah.
I would love to skydive. I've never done it.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of extreme stuff. I'm in a way I'm a fan. I mean, I do it, but it's just not something that I do all the time. And
right.
I think the main reason why I've not skydived yet is just I kind of want to do it by myself. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be cool to do it with someone else. And I don't think my partner really kind of too into it. So I think
When are you wanting to do it?
It's something that I don't have a timeline.
Okay.
I just want it to be special. I want it to be like, even with a group of people or I just don't want to go do it myself.
Right.
Just by myself, It's
Yeah.
one of those things that a lot of things I don't mind doing by myself, whatever. I mean, I always, I can, jet ski any day myself, different things. I've done it before, but jet ski, because it would be the first time, I kind of think it would be cool as a group or a few people to kind of just for fun,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of it. I just, I think it would be just a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
I would not be scared.
No?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know what?
It's way up there, dude.
No, like I don't really for example, flying. I love flying. I have zero scare of flying.
Yeah, no, me too. I love flying as well, but I think going up there and then opening a door, and then stepping out of it is totally.
No, there's definitely a bit of there's definitely
anticipation,
and there's definitely that bit of fear in a way. But I think the wanting to do is bigger than the fear, and I think it would be super cool. As a group, and like it's.
Well,
you cross the street to get hit by a car, by a bus. I mean,
yeah, so true.
It's like
life is short.
Yeah.
Life is short.
So
those are 2 good ones.
Yeah, there's something else that I want to do is I want to open an eco B&B in Portugal.
Okay.
So I would say probably within the next few years, 2-3 years. I want to do a small, probably like 6 rooms, very small, like a eco B&B. By eco, I mean, I don't want to make it in any particular category, but sort of, kind of have our own produce for the breakfast.
Right, so like on a little like hobby farm or something.
Yeah, I do have the property.
Okay.
I'm just trying to extend the property a little bit to the side to make it a bit better,
more feasible,
the shape to be a bit better, because right now it's kind of like triangle shape. But yeah, I think I would like to do something where I can practice my customer service.
Okay.
Like have accessibility and just really cater to like when people need something, like you just like it's there and you like you just, because I really love details, and I think having the how many places do you go now that it still can't figure out their Wi-Fi? I mean,
yeah, that's a swing and a miss for sure.
Like things like that, which right now, I mean, there's some of the top things that pisses people off the most is like Wi-Fi. Simple First thing as you get to a place, Airbnb is like, so things like that, the bottle of wine, and the table when they arrive and things like that. There's not many people doing a lot of that, I find. I don't travel a lot in Airbnb. Here and there I've done it the last few years, but I feel like there's been 1 or 2 that kind of been like
they actually hit it.
Yeah.
I like that, man. Well, I'll attend your eco B&B for sure. Yeah,
definitely built in wood, which is not very popular in Portugal. But I kind of want to. Yeah, I've already researched a bit of there's definitely a couple of companies that are doing wooden houses.
Oh, cool.
I even looked into, those houses that are available on Amazon, like things like that.
Oh, yeah?
The houses that you can build for like $5,000, you can build in a couple of days, like
so cool.
small,
like little modular homes.
Yeah. So kind of something like that. I mean, I don't want to make it too fancy. Just, I want it to be clean and, just easy. I don't want it, nothing too, yeah. So that's been on my to-dos for a little bit, but
I like that one, man.
Try to do that.
I like that.
Yeah, I have another one. Well, we talked about skydiving, and I have another one here that I've been in the military, and I've done. It was in the marine side, and then did the submarines and did a bit of that. But I think one thing that I would love to do is travel on a fighter jet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love planes a lot. I'm the kind of guy that stops out there and every time stares, and I really enjoy planes. I like that power when it's taking off. I really enjoy it, and I think, I've always I wanted to do it there. I never had a chance. When you're there, you're kind of like a newbie, and you just like you only go there for like 8 months, but you never really have a chance to like be comfortable. But I think I would love to I think that'd be amazing.
As a passenger, or
as a passenger, yeah. I mean, flying would be cool, but I think
you don't need to do that.
That would not happen in a way for a long time. I would have to
tons of
training.
Let
me fly it. Someone let me fly that thing. I don't know, but But I think as a passenger, I think would be a cool experience because. Are
you intrigued as well by like something like Formula One? Like, does that intrigue you?
I love Formula One. Yeah.
I just feel like that speed is very similar to what you get in the fighter jets as well.
We have a circuit in Portugal.
Yeah,
a Formula One circuit in Cascais. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's another thing is I'm a motorsports guy. I don't really practice much basketball, soccer. I'm
right.
When I tell people that I don't watch soccer, they're like,
"You're from Portugal. You don't watch." Yeah.
So I've always been a dirt biker for many years. So motorsports, engines, fast. That's kind of my stuff.
Who do you support with F1?
The thing is, I've not been super involved the last few years.
Yeah, there's not a lot of coverage here.
I don't actually watch TV at home. I have cable.
Right.
I don't. I just. I don't. It's not. I don't get productive watching much TV. So, but I kind of lost a little bit of all the names and everything. Even in dirt biking, motocross, I used to follow a lot more, but not so much anymore. I just don't spend a lot of hours looking for it and watching it. So it's kind of.
You're busy building a brand.
Yeah. Plus, I've always worked, nights.
Right.
So
the timing doesn't
working
work out.
3 to 11 for a decade, there's no time to watch anything.
No.
So so that's the reason why I don't really follow much. But I do if I happen to see it, I really enjoy that. I can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you ever make your way to Montreal for the Grand Prix? Would you do that?
I would actually. I've heard of it. I've heard that it's there, and it's just that I don't put the effort to kind of, and I kind of don't want to go by myself. Same thing. You
don't want to skydive by yourself. You don't want to go to Montreal.
So I would. I had a couple of friends there. They lived there for a year and a bit, 2 years, and if that happened for them to tell me like, hey, the Grand Prix is next month, you have time. If I had the time, I'll fly there. It's not the point of the logistics. It's sometimes of thinking it and just doing it.
Exactly.
But it's definitely. I've watched it in Monte Carlo.
Oh man.
Monaco, sorry.
Yeah.
I've watched it in Monaco, and
beautiful.
I happened to dock there and one time on a cruise ship, and that was happening that day. It's just like that tunnel curve. It's just like that main one is like wow. I
was exposed to it in Abu Dhabi years ago. I was traveling there for business, and I was just there on, I think it was day one, just like the qualifying. What do they call it? What do they call the day one when you're doing like the placing? Is it qualifying?
Do you know
what I mean? Like to figure out where you're starting.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were doing that, and I was literally just like a property away from where they were doing it, and I was blown away by the sound. And just the acceleration that these machines were showing off was just astonishing. I can't imagine what it would feel like to sit in that thing, and the G forces and
it gives me goosebumps. That stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like dirt biking too. Dirt biking is. A lot of people ride like 150, 125s, 250s, but there's a lot of people that never rode a 500 two-stroke like. That thing is
Powerful.
You better have hands for that thing because it flies. Like the thing
It's a
is
beast.
amazing. Yeah. Another one that I was this close, very close to visit, and I didn't have a chance. It just really broke my heart. Was the pyramids in Egypt.
Ooh, wow.
Because I was working around the area there, and for the staff you don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like I think like a 4-hour journey, like to go and come back and as a tour.
Yeah.
And I couldn't because I had only a few hours, and I happened to be there a few times, and I just didn't have enough time. So, and cruise ships are very strict. Like you show up late and you don't show up at all. Like
Right.
So, yeah. So basically, I didn't have a chance that I would love to still go. And when I'm in Portugal, I'm not too far in a way. I kind of should, but it's like, but I want to make it there one day. Yeah.
Cool. I'll hold you to that one for sure.
Yeah.
Any others?
And just one more will be just travel more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to still travel more.
What's on your list? Obviously, you mentioned Tokyo. You mentioned Egypt. What else is kind of top of your list as far as travel?
I want to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Very soon. I'm just sort of astonished by just amazed by what they do there. It's just like, it's not like I want to be like, it's not like I enjoy the luxury part, but I'm just like the architecture and just the development that they've done there. It just in my mind, I just like,
they've definitely pushed the boundaries for
crazy.
Sure.
Like it's amazing. I mean, I want to explore, I want to go explore Asia a bit more. I've never been to, Shanghai. I've never been to, Beijing. Beijing, I mean, more Shanghai I would probably be on my to-dos. Hong Kong, never been. So the Asian side is definitely something that I want to.
So beautiful up there, and so much beautiful food as well, and beautiful people, and the weather, beaches, all that stuff. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's, like Mekong Delta is fabulous. Like
I've never
Mekong
heard.
Delta is in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
People born and die in the river. They never see anything else.
Wow.
They're born there. They work. They live there.
Wow.
It's like it's fun. It's amazing.
Stunning. Any others?
Nope. I think
like
we're good.
Man, you did such a great job, and I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on to this show and share your story and share your knowledge as well. I learned a bunch about Portuguese wines. I think it's super exciting. If you guys are out there and you are wine drinkers and you haven't yet tried Portuguese wines, whether you're here in Vancouver or around the globe, go out there and explore and try something a little bit different and find some Portuguese wines in your city and give it a shot. If you are local here in Vancouver, the best spot to find some Avelino's wines would be where?
Marquee
Wines.
Marquee on Davie.
Mm-hmm. That's the best spot.
Yeah. In terms of diversity of a few different labels, yes.
Okay.
High Point on Hastings has something there. Shambar, Nightingale, Hawksworth, Bishops.
Beautiful.
Mod 32 has a few labels.
Awesome, man.
Red Accordion, brand new shop, a brand new spot there in the West End. Super cool, very homey.
I love that space.
Yeah,
good room, really good room.
Mm-hmm, they have a couple
if people want to reach out to you, whether they need that copy and paste email for the Lisbon trip, or they want to learn more about you and the wine, how best they reach out to you?
Everyone can email me anytime, Avelino@premiumportugalwines.com.
Awesome. That's Avelino, correct?
Correct, sir. Yeah.
Awesome.
Or you can even give me a call. I'm in at 778-316-7069.
Whoa, he just dropped his digits to
my number
the world.
is out there. Is actually in all my social media, and I got nothing to hide, no problems.
Man, amazing. Give him a call. Avelino, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Thank you guys for tuning in as you do week after week. It means the absolute world to me. Again, fly the Portuguese flag when it comes to wine. Give it a try. Support Avelino and what he's doing. I'm a big fan, and I look forward to the success that is sure to come your way, sir. And let me know how I can further help you and your brands and what you're doing any way at all possible. That is it for me. That is Avelino. I am Brad. This is the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast. Thank you guys for sticking with us for the last 90 minutes and 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds. I appreciate and love you all. You know what to do until next week, guys. Be good and do good. That's it, man. We did it.
Cheers.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome.